What up, though, man? It's your boy Motown Chris, man. We are here. It is finally here. Episode one of the Motor City Roar podcast, man. It's been a long time coming, been a long time in the making, but we are finally here. Thank you guys for joining me on the start of this beautiful journey together. Um, First things first, man. If you ain't here, like, uh, if you already subscribed, appreciate you. Share, get some other people in here. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that already. And it's gonna be great, man. Uh, Before we get started, give you a little bit background about myself, man. Born and raised in Detroit, Southwest Detroit. Grew up watching the Lions, Tigers, the Pistons, Red Wings, University of Michigan. My mom is a big University of Michigan fan, big Pistons fan. So that's where the love of that started. And then when I started watching for myself, I just fell in love with the culture of Detroit sports, man. I've been a Lions fan through it all. I've been a Lions fan through it all. I've been a Lions fan through 0-16. I've been a Lions fan through Dan Orlovsky stepping out of bounds. I was there for John Kidner. I was there for Matthew Stafford's dislocated shoulder. So I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of lows and I've seen some highs, man. But more recently, we've righted the ship. We're getting better. Um, a lot of patience, man. So I'm not one of them bandwagon ones. I've been here since day one. I love my Lions, as you can see. I got Barry up there. I got Calvin. Who we gonna talk about to first? That's the first topic we're gonna get into is Calvin. But you see it, man. I bleed Honolulu blue and silver, man. I love this team. I love this city. That's never gonna change, right? So I appreciate you guys for trusting me and tuning in to get your Lions information from me. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna have conversations. We're gonna have dialect. We're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna have some fun, right? So, first things first, Calvin Johnson. I mean, what can be said that hasn't been said about him already, right? Calvin Johnson is just one of those. He's one of them ones, right? Just a freak of nature, freak athlete, catch radius out of this world. I mean, the things that he did just looked like video game. He just looked like a video game character out there. Um, played his entire career for us in Detroit, and unfortunately, we couldn't get him a ring. But he did have some outstanding seasons, put out some outstanding numbers with us, and he's finally getting his just due. I say finally. I just feel like it's been way too long. You know, seeing from when he retired, when he left the game to now being inducted into the Pride of the Lions. And I believe maybe getting his jersey retired. Not too sure about that. But getting inducted into the Pride of the Lions and he getting inducted week 4, September 30th, Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks. I'm tired of playing these boys, honestly. I feel like we play them in Dallas every year, but that's another story. Um, but he's getting inducted, man, and it's just another thing that the Lions organization has done to kind of change and shift the culture in Detroit, right? For so long, is public information for so long that there was a rift between Calvin Johnson and the Lions organization for whatever reasons that each party says. It's just good that both parties are now working together again. And it kind of started with Barry, giving him his just due and his respect for what he did for the team and for the city, and giving him a statue, which was beyond well deserved, right? So immortalized him outside of Ford Field, and I think that like that was the start of like you know the Lions organization trying to change, like I said, change the culture and shift the way of how things are done. So the statue was great, right? Um, And then, of course, I mean, Calvin Johnson's been back in the organization for a couple years now, and he's involved with the players. He comes and talks to them. He comes talks to the team. He's in the facilities a lot, passing down wisdom and chatting with the coaches and with the upper management and stuff like that. Speaking of upper management, shout out to the management team of Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, a head coach. They're just tremendous, tremendous minds, and I think that was the true start of the culture shift when we got Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell 3 years ago, and I always like you need to have your team, right? So Brad Holmes got his guy at coaching, Dan Campbell. Then he got his coordinators and Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. And you've seen what that system has done, right? You that first year was 3-13-1, which was, expected. We weren't I didn't expect us to come out there and be division champs that first year. Um and then the second year, you held your breath the first half of the season. Started I want to say 1-6, 1-7. We started 1-6. Started that season 1-6. And then it was just everything clicked, you know what I'm saying? And then we started rattling them off, finished the season 9-8, missed the playoffs. I have my gripes about that whole situation. Is another reason why I don't care for Seattle, because Seattle bumped our chances of making it to the playoffs that year as a wild card when they beat LA, which was a damn good game because LA had Baker Mayfield at quarterback and he was slinging it. So he almost beat them to send us to the playoffs. Granted, had we beat Green Bay on that primetime game that night, which we did. But yeah, so Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell have created that culture shift. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're uh part of the reason or part of the influence as to why Calvin Johnson is starting or is getting his just doing his respect now. I think they know that and you call it superstitious, call it what you want, Lions curse or whatever it may be, right? You feel like if a team does somebody wrong, they won't do well until they do right by that person, right? Same like I have Atlanta Falcons fans. I have a homie who's a Falcons fan who says that they're not gonna do nothing until they do right by Michael Vick, right? So call it superstition, call it what you want. But I definitely think it is important to still have that key piece from Lions history to still be involved with the Lions, right? And so I think Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell probably had something to do with that. But yeah, seeing as how he retired in what 2015, 9 years, 9 years, it took almost a decade. It took to get him put up, and I guarantee you, this is not the last that we'll see of Calvin Johnson being honored in the Lions organization. I definitely think he is absolutely worthy of a statue, and he will probably be the second statue um, added to the grounds of Ford Field, and I'd be absolutely okay with that. But almost a decade, and he's just now getting put into the pride of the Lions. So I think the organization is definitely making strides to uh, amend broken relationships and you know patching these broken bridges, and it's doing something for the team. It's doing something for the team because you bring these guys in, and these guys who retire, they don't stop loving the game, right? They don't stop loving the team that they played their entire career for, regardless of if you got any rings or anything like that. Some people just love the city that they were in, love the team that they were playing for, and I definitely feel that that's what it is with the likes of Barry and Calvin Johnson, man. And I think the love is mutual. You know what I'm saying? The new guys that's coming up, you respect the legends that paved the way wearing the uniform before you, and you take heed to their advice and the wisdom that they can put forth. So it works both ways, man. But you got to have that relationship. You got to have that connection, and the fact that ownership, organization, management is trying to build these bonds and these relationships speaks volumes beyond just the surface level of things that we see, right? Like you just see, oh, they finally honoring Calvin Johnson. Like, yeah, that is what is due and owed to him, but it's also, the olive branches, and it's like this is how we're moving forward. This is the new culture, right? This is what all in, and this is what all grit is about. And you want to talk about grit and all in, but nobody more all in than Calvin Johnson. I mean, dude took a lot of beatings, took a lot of beatings to wear that Honolulu blue and silver proudly. So, but definitely congratulations to him. I don't think you'll find a Lions fan anywhere that doesn't believe that he deserves to be in there. He deserved to be in there a while ago. Um, but for those of you who just maybe happen to live under a rock and don't know exactly who Calvin Johnson is, I got you. Pull up my man stats, man. So a 9-year career, all of it with the Lions. 11,619 receiving yards, which is first all time in the Lions. 731 receptions, which is first all time for the Lions. 83 receiving touchdowns, first all time for the Lions. He's also the single season receiving yard king. Somebody came close, and I want to say it was either Cooper Cup or Justin Jefferson. I think it was Justin Jefferson most recently, and then Cooper Cup the year before that. The year Cooper Cup had that triple crown year, but Cooper Cup and then Justin Jefferson most recently that came close to it, but did not quite break it yet. So he's still the single season receiving yard king with 1,964 yards in the season. That is just crazy. He's second all time for receiving yards in a game with 329. That's just mad numbers. You're not throwing to nobody else on the team but Calvin Johnson. Excuse me. 6-time Pro Bowler, all of which were 6 years in a row. That is crazy. 3-time first team All Pro, 1-time second team All Pro, all decade team of the 2010s, College Football Hall of Fame inductee in 2018, Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee in 2021. That is a hell of a career, honestly. And I think the only thing that's missing from that career is a ring. But as you can see, I mean, he got into the Hall of Fame, and his numbers. I mean, you think about it for nine years, right? Look where he's at on the all time NFL list with 9 years. That's pretty impressive, right? And think about when he retired, where he could have been at in the all time list when he retired, right? He retired almost 10 years ago. So who knows, you know, in those 9 years, who is just now past them or anything like that, right? And so Calvin Johnson was just a specimen, right? Dude was just a freak of nature, freak athlete, 6'8", just long strides, throw it up, he's catching it, I think I have a picture of him catching literally a Hail Mary ball over like 3 or 4 Bengals. So dude was, I mean, and he was like Matthew Stafford's best friend. Like you needed a bailout, you needed somebody to go get a catch, you needed somebody to go get a big time play. Calvin Johnson's down there somewhere. And I feel like, yeah, you had your Randy Mosses and your TOs, and like those were your original effort. They down there somewhere, guys. But Calvin Johnson is definitely included in that category of, hey, somebody's down there, and somebody's gonna go get it, right? So long overdue, long overdue, but congratulations to Calvin, aka Megatron Johnson, for being inducted into the Pride of the Lions. Look forward to seeing that ceremony, what that ceremony looks like at halftime. Again, it'll be September 30th, halftime Monday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks. I almost called them the Supersonics, the Seattle Seahawks. So yeah, there's that. Now, moving on, we are officially in football season. Preseason By the time this video will be posted, we would have had technically the first preseason game because it'll be the Hall of Fame game. Nobody really cares about that, but it's football, right? We haven't seen football since February, unless you was watching the USFL, whatever they called the combination of them two leagues. Now that they got, if you was watching that, then you've had football for a little bit longer than the rest of us. I like NFL. I'm a purist. I can't really watch the other game, the other league, but if you watch it, fantastic. But we are in the season, training. We are in the midst of training camp. I believe we are on day 8 or 9 of training camp, and um, some good things happening in camp, man. Coaches love it. Players are having fun. Players are seeing the difference. Um, Everybody's kind of seeing a difference, right? So we all know what it was last year. Made it to the NFC Championship. Fell short. Excuse me. Fell short against the 49ers in San Francisco. Um, but it was the farthest we had been in 30 some plus years, right? Um, but any real Lions fan and any football fan, honestly, knew what the problem, one of the major glaring problems was. And it was our defense, and more so specifically our secondary, right? The front four, the front seven, not the front four because the linebacker core was a little iffy. The front four was solid, linebacker core was okay. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. And the secondary was just hit or miss. It was hard to watch because every time a ball was thrown up, you didn't know if it was going to be an 80-yard bomb for a touchdown or if he was going to get a pick, deflection, whatever the case may be. Everybody's number one receiver pretty much had 150 yards whenever they played us. That can't happen. That cannot happen. Um, and those issues were rightly and immediately addressed in draft and offseason moves. Picked up Carlton Davis from Tampa, Amik Robertson from Vegas, drafted cornerbacks Enos Rakestraw and Terrion Arnold in the draft, and of course signed a couple of other cornerbacks that were on the team with us last year. But I like how Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell knew what issue needed to be addressed. As soon as the offseason happened, they knew what it was. They made righteous moves, right? And now in training camp, and we're in pads, right? You're kind of able to see what this defense is going to kind of look like for the first time. Um, and it's, of course, everything is going to look different in game speed when you're in the real game in the regular season. But this is just kind of a peek into how things are shaping up, how these new pieces are meshing in. And I feel like this is going to be a great, maybe not great, optimistic. I like to call it great. I'm going to call it great. Um, it definitely depends on the play calling with Aaron Glenn, right? But to that point, I think we're going to have a chance at having a great defense. Because we also added some pieces up front. DJ Reader from Cincinnati to help out in the middle with a Lee McNeil. James Houston should be back, and then of course you got Aiden Hutchinson. So that front four should be ridiculous, right? Although DJ Reader did tweak something just recently in training camp and said it might be a couple weeks. He might not be ready for opening night against the Rams. So we'll keep monitoring that, as well as we lost, John Kaminsky to a MCL tear. Rest up to him, get well soon. Make a playoff push. They say he might be back for that, right? He had some clutch plays last year. But DJ Reader, Aiden Hutchinson, Lee McNeil, James Houston, and we also added Matthew Betts as another DN, right? So that defensive front is going to be very stout, very stout. We were great against the run actually last season. You really could not run the ball against us, right? And as glaring of a disability our secondary was, you only really got one receiver to go off, right? So say for instance, when we went against the Cowboys in that wretched game, God, I need to go to therapy for that. But in that game against the Cowboys, right? CD Lamb was the guy. Nobody else really had a glaring number when it came to receiving yards. When we played the Rams in the wild card round, it was Puka Nakua, right? Kind of held everybody else down. Um, Against the Bucks, it was Mike Evans, Justin Jefferson for the Vikings, so on and so forth, right? They only had one receiver go off, and I guess if you're the other team, they'll be like, "Hey, if he goes off, that's the winning formula." However, sorry, y'all. However, we were 12-5, right? So even though a lot of these teams were their best receiver was going off, it didn't necessarily equate to winning, right? So I guess that's a silver lining to look at with that. But you never want to look at any one part of your team and have to immediately be like, oh, well, here's a silver lining. No, you want to have more pros than cons. Last year, it was a little bit more cons than pros, and we ended up paying for it, right? This year, of course, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like I said, everything is different at game speed when the lights are on. So we will see how all this looks in Aaron Glenn's defense. We'll see how everything plays together. I personally like these pickups. I like how we did in the draft. I mean, I think we dressed everything defense in the draft. I think we might have gotten one offensive player, maybe, and I would have to go look. I think we got like a tackle or a guard, and I think that was probably like the only offensive player, maybe a receiver somewhere in there, but everything else was defense, right? And I love it. I love it. I was so happy during the draft, not just because the draft was in Detroit. What up though? Uh, Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to the city for an amazing turnout, breaking draft numbers. But no, picking up a Meek Robertson, I think he's underrated at his position. I think he'll help out. Carlton Davis, he's a strap up kind of guy. So I think that in addition to those vets, teaching the new guys, Terry and Arnold, Enos Rakestraw, who are also getting a lot of high praise in training camps. And getting a lot of high praise in training camp. And they're genuinely happy to be there, right? They love it. And it's iron sharpens iron, right? You taking these guys and you put them against the ones on offense, and you're getting battles every day, right? And so Dan Campbell kind of alluded to that a little bit. I got a soundbite from him talking about things he's seen with the defense so far in training camp. Here's what he had to say.
And I can feel the defense. I feel our front. You know, you can feel the front is being disruptive, and man, we have violent separation. The backers are playing off of them downhill fast, all of them, and then our DBs are challenging. And they're running well, pretty good athletes. And so we're in a good place. And so, man, I just feel like we're challenging each other the right way. That's what you want, right? And you want this back and forth.
Yeah. So it's looking good, man. It's looking good. It's looking like cooking up a recipe for success over there in Allen Park in training camp. I like to see it. I like to see it, man. Like I said, if you were a real Lions fan, or if you just know football, right, you knew that the issue was the secondary last season, and the fact that, and not every team's management, front office can knows how to immediately address an issue when it's presented to them, right? For for example, and I know all my Cowboys friends are gonna hate me for this, man. But prime example, man, Cowboys. Jerry and that management. Well, I can't even say the management team. It's Jerry. Jerry. They made no moves off season, knowing they had glaring holes. You couldn't they couldn't stop a run if their life depended on it, right? You saw that when we hung up some yards on them, and a lot of people were just running through them like it was nothing, right? And they also didn't address the running game. They actually even went back. They regressed because they lost Tony Pollard, right? They did nothing, right? But if you're a Cowboys fan or if you're a fan of football or and you know football, you knew what the problems was in Dallas, and they have not done anything, right? So it's a blessing and it's an honor to have a team and a front office that's like, okay, this is what the problem was. This is how we're gonna fix it, right? And immediately went away at fixing that problem, plugging that leak, right? So like I said, everything is different game speed with the lights is on, but it's looking very promising, right? On the other side of things, the offense looks, I mean, what can you say that can't be said about the offense? The offense was a top 5 offense last year, one of the best O lines, if not the best O line in the league. And nothing has changed in that. They re-signed Panay Sewell, they re-signed Taylor Decker. Um, they got that the big boys up front, kept Jared Goff clean, opened up the pathways for the best running back duo in the league. Argue with your mama, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Nothing's changed, right? Nothing's changed offensively. Lost a couple people. I don't think that's really big of a deal. I think the offense is still able to perform at a elite level as it did last year, and I think even higher so, just because the comfortability level, right? Things are getting there's more mesh, there's more chemistry. Ben Johnson is still there, and he is just a whiz kid. He's a mastermind on offense, man. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's drawn up, what new plays he's come up with, how he's getting Jared Goff active in the pocket, how he's getting Jahmyr Gibbs more involved because Jahmyr he shot out in the middle of the season when he took over the running back duties when David Montgomery was hurt, and that was his just emergence. That was his boom, right? Then we saw Jahmyr Gibbs, right? So everybody who was confused, like myself, I'm not gonna lie, but I was very confused when we traded back, picked up a running back. I was like, hey, yo, what's going on here? At the time, I think we still had Swift too. So I was like, hey, what's really going on? And we had just picked up David Montgomery. So a lot of people were, confused. But he's like, you know what? Brad has earned enough trust that we can sit here and trust the process for a second. And I'll tell you what, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch, Aiden Hutchinson, Panay Sewell, right? I have seen enough. Brad Holmes has all of my trust, right? I have seen enough. I don't question. I didn't question him this draft, and he showed up and showed out again, right? One of his picks from his I gotta get better, man. One of his picks from his beginning tenure was one Jameson Williams, right? It was kind of a risky pick. He had just torn his ACL, I believe, either the national championship, excuse me, or the CFP game before that. I believe it was the national championship. And they still picked him. I want to say that was ninth overall that year, maybe ninth or 14th, somewhere around there. Still picked him up. He sat for for the majority part of that year. Brought him in for some gadget plays at the end just to, kind of get his feet wet for his rookie year. So there was that. Then last year, we seen him step up. Not a lot, but not a little, right? There was that middle ground that he was operating in, right? A lot more gadget plays. Took the top off the defense a couple times, even in the playoffs too. And that, I mean, he's that guy. He is a deep ball threat, and he can go get it, right? If Jared Goff can place it, he can go get it. We've seen it. We've also seen what he can do coming out the backfield with a full head of steam, i.e., against New Orleans. like you see in the picture down in the bottom left corner, or in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers, right? So the dude has a plethora of skills, right? But the thing is, a lot of thing that has Lions fans worried is we haven't seen enough of it, right? Granted, the kid came back from a torn ACL, which is not easy, right? I haven't torn one, but I know it's not easy to come back from a torn ACL. The physical aspect of it and the mental aspect of it, right? Um, so shout out to the organization for continuing to pour into the kid to grow him and try to ease him back into a place of comfortability. Um, but now we're getting to the point where hey, we're about to be coming up on contract extensions, contract negotiations, and everything like that. This is about to be his third season, rookie contracts or a 4-year deal. So we're gonna be getting into these negotiations here soon, and it's like now it's the dirty part of the game, right? You have to weigh the benefits of keeping, tagging, letting what I'm saying. It's the nasty part of the business nobody wants to talk about. And so now we're talking about um can Jameson take that next step further again? And he's been getting a lot of glaring praise in camp from the coaches, from the other offensive players, from the defenders that's guarding him, especially like Terry and Arnold. They go way back to the Alabama days. They lined up against each other in practice. So it's kind of poetic that they're lining up against each other in practice again. And he said himself, he's out there having fun. He feels like it's the first time he's had fun in a while. And I think that fun JMO is good JMO. Um, I think you'll start seeing him get a lot more um, attention, a lot more looks his way this season as far as play calling goes. I think you start to see him kind of glide into that wide receiver 2 role because we all know Sun God is the one, right? That is just clear. Shout out to them for getting that deal done with him, locking him up for the next 4 as well. But yeah, so Sun is the one, and but Jameson knows. I think he knows that he needs to be the 2. Um, and this is the season. This will be the year where this will define if he's the 2 or not, right? And that's not to say that even if he doesn't perform at a worthy wide receiver 2 level, at a worthy Robin level this year, that's not to say that we go away from him, we dump him or whatever like that. The wide receiver room is very deep. So he could definitely be still a gadget threat. This is the low end though. This is the floor, right? Just a gadget player, um 4 out sets, what I'm saying, stuff like that, right? But I think that his ceiling is greater than his floor, right? He can be a wide receiver 2, and excuse me, time permitting, skill permitting, he could in some way somehow end up going into like a 1A 1B role in this offense pairing with Amon Ra, right? So sorry about that. So yeah, he could definitely end up going into that next role, that next step. Um and this will be the year for it, right? This will be the year for that, and we'll be able to see it. But he has to be able to open up more, be a little bit more comfortable, which I think he will. Like you're seeing it in training camp. Like he's just um, he's opening up. He's having more fun. The routes he's running are very crisp, and I think that's a underrated part of his game is the fact that he's actually a very good route runner, right? So you pair that with his elite speed, he's going to be a problem. He is going to be a problem, right? He'll end up being more than just a deep threat, right? So he'll have the whole route tree under his belt, and that's going to be a problem, right? Because what are you going to do? You press up because you think he's running to go, and then he breaks you off for a slant, and now you're stuck over here. he's already in the middle of the field wide open. It's what are you gonna do? So he definitely has the abilities to. I mean, the offense is already explosive. We saw it last year. Like I said, nothing's really changed, right? But he has a chance to, especially with the way Ben Johnson calls plays, right? He has a chance to I think, take this Detroit offense to yet another gear, right? And that might be selfish. That might be asking a lot, seeing as how we were, like I said, very high powered and high octane offense last year. But that was with JMO at like 50%, 65%, right? JMO at 85, 95, 100%. Jameson Williams, man, I think, I think that wide receiver duo is a problem for anybody in the league, right? You can start putting them in the conversations with Jamar Chase and your T Higgins or your Cooper Cup, your Puka Nakua. What's some other? I'm drawing blanks on these wide receiver duos because it ain't that much. There ain't that many more of them, but they'll be in the conversation. They'll definitely be in the conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Jameson open up, man. Hopefully, we'll see what, or we'll kind of get a sneak peek of what this offense and defense will look like come preseason. I know the starters don't get to play a lot. These are just like tune ups, and you playing at 25%, right? So, um, looking forward to, but the ceiling is high. The ceiling is high for this team. Everything everything is looking up and up. So I'm loving it right now. I'm loving it right now, man. Last thing before I get up out of here, schedule. So we got a decent little schedule, man. Um I think people in the NFL office have a great sense of humor. Um because the schedule has some very interesting games. We open up the season at home, rightfully so. I mean, defending NFC North champs, right? But we open it up against the team we bounced in the wild card round in the last playoffs in the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford got to come back to Detroit and see them boys again, man. Um, I I don't know, man. I don't know if they give him the tribute that everybody thought they was gonna get. I mean, why would you give him a tribute in a playoff game? That wasn't happening, right? That was not happening at all. That's like, giving the enemy the key to your career, right? No, we're not doing that, right? Yeah, we know what you did, and the next time you come and it's not a playoff game, we probably got you, right? But now it's opening night, Sunday night football, opening weekend. Rams back in Ford Field. Stafford's back in Ford Field. I don't know if you do a tribute video. Um, I know that sounds kind of crazy. I know a lot of people are, kind of expecting it. I don't know if you do a tribute video, not opening weekend, right? So that'll be interesting to see. But I believe, more of the same, man, especially with a better defense. We're gonna get the Rams up out of there. Can't lose the opener at home in prime time, man. Speaking of prime time, they gave us a lot of love. I think we got 5 prime time, not including Thanksgiving because it's the early day. But I mean, I count Thanksgiving as a prime time because it's national television, right? So I'll say we got 6 prime time games, 5 actual prime times, and then of course the Thanksgiving game. So we getting some love. We getting some love. They starting to drink the blue Kool-Aid, man. Tell them we've been drinking it for a while though. We've been drinking it with the bags on our head and everything like that. So they late to the party, man. But so we got the Rams to open up the season. And what's crazy is right after that, we got the Buccaneers at the crib, the team we beat in the divisional round of the playoffs. So they got to come back. Carlton Davis facing off against his former team. Oh, speaking of former teams, the Rams ended up picking up Jerry Jacobs. So I guess it'll be like a homecoming for Jerry Jacobs. I have my thoughts on Jerry Jacobs. Probably touch on that at another time. But so yeah, first 2 games, Rams, Bucks, the 2 teams we eliminated from the playoffs last year. So that'll be interesting. What is it? I believe this week 6. Week 6 is that highly anticipated, and they should have made that a prime time, but highly anticipated rematch against the Dallas Cowboys. If you know, you know, right? Uh, and of course, it's in Dallas again. We've played in Dallas 3 years in a row. Um, Schedule makers, get it together. You know, the Lions do have a home field, right? So get it together, right? Tell them to come see us for once. And seeing as how we had the better record than them last year, they need to come see us, right? Why are we going to go see them, right? But I'm looking forward to that, especially with the new look ish of Dallas, right? No run game to speak of as of yet, right? It's looking like Ezekiel Elliott will be the number one back. Maybe, I don't know. I think they still got Deuce Vaughn, but I don't know. It's a scary mess over there. CeeDee Lamb holding out for a contract. Dak talking in code right in front of Jerry Jones. I mean, it's just it put them on Hard Knocks because I want to see that because something is going on over there. But we got that rematch against them week 6. We got the Packers on Thanksgiving this year. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. That new look Packers. They're the only ones I'm kind of really keeping my eye on. I'm not really worried about Chicago, not really worried about Minnesota. I'm watching Green Bay. I'm watching Green Bay because they snuck in last year. They snuck in and then they actually showed out. They dogged Dallas and they almost ended up meeting us in the NFC Championship. Right? They almost ended up taking San Francisco up out of there. I think it's just some bad play calling, some bad judgment, and a rookie mistake. Not a rookie. I mean, he's not a rookie, but first timer mistake from Jordan Love that cost him that game. So looking forward to those two matchups against the Packers this year. Um, the Texans, man, Sunday Night Football. I can't even see. I think that's week 9. Week 9 for the let's see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or 11. I think it's a week 11. ESPN don't tell me the weeks. But prime time against the Texans, man, that's gonna be a dog fight. The Texans is cold. Texans is cold, and that's a lot of people's dark horse matchup for the Super Bowl. Texans Lions, man. So if that be the case, this could be a Super Bowl preview down there in H Town, man. So looking forward to that, man. And then week 17. Lord have mercy. And I'm going to that game. I will be at that game. Week 7, because I'm only about 3 hours from San Francisco. Week 17 at Levi, man. NFC Championship rematch. We got to go get it back in blood, man. We got to go see them boys. We don't know what the Brandon Ayuk situation looks like right now. Um, but we know what them boys are. We know what CMC is. We know what Debo is. We know what that defense is. But they barely got us up out of there. There were some self-inflicted wounds, mistakes that we made in the NFC Championship. I think all that is corrected, right? And you go in there living in the present. You don't live in the past because that's how you end up getting messed up, right? But you got to go in there, and we got to go get it back. This is the revenge tour, right? So Dallas, we got to go get it back. San Francisco, we got to go get it back, man. Those are just some of the key games I like from the season, man. But next episode, man. Excuse me, golly. Hopefully, I'm also better next episode because getting over this little cold, getting the cold in the summer is crazy, especially when it's 100 degrees out here, right? But hopefully, I'll be better next week. Hopefully, next week I might drop my season record prediction, go down, and I'll run through the season and come out with a prediction, man. But hey, that's it, man. First one is in the books, man. I appreciate y'all. Again, smash the like button. If you're not subscribed here and you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Share this as well. Whether you subscribe or not, share. Get this out there, man. Up and coming, man. I'm trying to get this out there, man. So yeah, I'll be back here, man. Next Saturday, same time, same place, same Lions fan, same Lions talk, man. So I appreciate y'all for hanging with me, man. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.